How's it going, guys? And welcome to your Smackdown review. And this is a show where it pains me to review this show every week sometimes. What a complete disaster of a show. And you could see the decline. It was a little bit better. 2 weeks ago, there was no Roman Reigns. Last week, it improved a little bit when Reigns was back on the show. Now Reigns is on the show, and we still have a bad show. This show right here, I mean, did anything happen on here that make you excited for Survivor Series? Survivor Series used to be something special. It used to be an exciting pay-per-view. It was the Deadly Game tournament when they crowned The Rock champion. It was Stone Cold getting run over. We don't even have to go that far back. We could even just think to when, we used to have these big feuds settled in these massive multi-man tag matches. And, think back to like Survivor Series 2004 with Stipulations. Whoever won the match would be running Raw for an entire month. Like, just crazy, cool, exciting stuff to make you invested in this great pay-per-view that was once considered to be, not too far off from like a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam. But, these shows, they're like meaningless now. They're just automated SmackDown versus Raw pay-per-views. And they used to have Survivor Series, and they used to keep these teams separate for their respective brands. And without a doubt, the old brand extension, while I was never a big brand extension guy, never thought that they should have ever had a draft in the first place. I mean, you could argue, people have argued that a lot of people wouldn't have gotten opportunities over the years. People have argued about Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit maybe never being champions, but I kind of disagree. I think the main event scene would have found them sooner or later, and probably would have, but, this was their idea to deal with a lot of talent and a big influx of talent from all over the place. And we're still doing this in 2021. And here's the thing. Most of these people who are going to be opposing SmackDown were just on SmackDown a few weeks ago. And now we're supposed to pretend, ooh, this is stimulating. It's brand warfare. You've got to be kidding me. Anyway, let's get into this absolutely awful show. Because, we'll have some fun here, of course. But, I mean, this is just, it's not even really that fun to talk about, to be quite honest. It's that horrible. Anyway, we've got the SmackDown women's team. And we got old Hatchet Face talking about old Sonya Deville. And, we're introducing, Shotzi. She just got there, but she's going to be on the team. And Shotzi was actually looking pretty fine. I've noticed like they kind of made her up a little bit better in the past few weeks, and I've checked out her IG. Yeah, I have, and she was looking good. And also Naomi comes out, and she's there to oppose Sonya because they picked Aaliyah for some reason to be on this team, and I'm like, what is she even doing out there? She hasn't even had a match or a meaningful segment on this show. But Naomi was also looking fine, and everyone comes out. Baby faces are brawling with heels as they introduce Sasha Banks, who's now suddenly a baby face. I'll never understand this Shotzi thing where Shotzi like turned on Sasha Banks, who's a heel, even though they never really had anything against each other to begin with. There was no long-standing relationship. She was just like an occasional superstar, like an occasional tag team wrestler with Tegan Nox, and it was all over the place with her. And now all of a sudden we're supposed to take her seriously as a threat, a big contender here, a big heel turn. And it was supposed to be like a double turn, I guess, and Sasha's now a face, even though she's totally unlikable. There's nothing to like about her. So everyone's just brawling because, hey, why not? So the idea here is that the SmackDown team is not going to get along because baby faces and heels are going to have to tag together. So I guess that adds an interesting dynamic. If I could say one positive thing about this mess, it's good to have at least a bit of tension than none at all, and it just be a plain ass match. So, we got Naomi coming out there, as I mentioned, and they go to commercial, and it's like, of course, who's not going to change the channel? Because this is just such great TV. Just people you don't even know. Aaliyah's out there, and, we're told she's important, even though you've never seen her before. And she's really, like, not to say she's not an attractive girl, but, like, she's very plain looking. Like, there's nothing about her that makes her stand out. Like, at least if you look at Shotzi, you see that there's something there. At least they're giving her a look. But you're looking at her. You're looking at old raccoon face Shayna Baszler. Enough with the globs of eye makeup with Shayna Baszler. The thing is, they make her look so bad looking on TV, and she's really not that bad looking in reality. But in WWE world, where they make her look just, I don't know what their obsession is. Like, the past couple of years, they fell in love with face paint again. Everyone's got to paint their face and do weird makeup, like Liv Morgan with weird teardrop stuff. Like, all of a sudden, she's like, the bedazzled Undertaker. Remember when he had that teardrop right there? Well, But anyway, we come back, and there's a 6-man tag going on that during the commercial break, old Hatchet Face made, and we're off to the races. And to be quite honest, it's not really like a bad match. It's not like it's botch filled. It's not like it's painful to sit through or anything. But Aaliyah ends up getting a pin on Natalya. And by the way, Natalya was also looking like, So you had some good looking girls out here, and I guess I was all right with it, but that's about it. This whole thing here, we're told, women's revolution. We're supposed to get excited about this, but this right here, who gives a shit about this? Like, is honestly anyone, like, on the edge of their seat? Oh, SmackDown versus Raw women's. There's no interesting storylines. There's no interesting dynamics. It's all rushed stuff, like Shotzi being catapulted into a weird heel role. And we don't even know what to like about Shotzi. She came out in the tank, no tank. This week, I guess, there was no tank in the entrance ramp, so I guess, no tank. They were just all in the ring to begin with. And even this, having them all lined up. Remember, this is something they used to do backstage that thankfully they stopped doing years ago, lining the women up, like all in a row, like they were soldiers. But, it was the same thing. They're all lined up in the ring, and it's just really cringy. But anyway, let's move on. We've got Sami Zayn backstage. He's talking into a mirror. He's doing a motivational speech, and the camera pans, and it's Jeff Hardy looking on, and Sammy says, how long you've been there, and just said for the whole thing. And he says, what do you think? And he says, quite frankly, it sucked. And Zayn looked like he was about to attack him, like the way he looked at him, but he didn't. He just walked away, and that was a little odd. That's the thing with a lot of these segments. They don't really go the way they're supposed to, and I don't mean that that's good, like in an unpredictable way. It just always feels like these are weird and unfinished, and they're just like kind of like serviceable promos, if you know what I mean. Like, they're just there because they feel like they need to have something there as a placeholder. Anyway, we've got Aaliyah just marking out for herself. Oh, I accomplished my dream. I gotta tell you something. I am so sick and tired of this story for all these wrestlers. I'm living a dream. You just think back, and we're not even going to talk about the Attitude Era. even talk about, the years when WWE was struggling, 94, 95, 1996. Like, you never heard any of these wrestlers talk about a dream, living a dream. This is my dream. No, they were there because they belonged, or at least they felt they belonged, The only time you heard about dreams is when it really meant something, like Shawn Michaels winning a world title. We've got Aaliyah just marking out on the phone to like a friend, and we don't know who she's talking to. Do we care? No. So she gets interviewed by not Kayla, but that other blonde interviewer, whoever that is. And she says, how does it feel to live your dream? And now you're going to be on the Survivor Series. And then Hatchet Face comes in and shuts it down. She says, you're not going to be on the Survivor Series team. So I'm going to guess it will probably be Naomi because she was already out there. And she looks like she's about to cry. Again with this, like, this is the thing. If all the girls have to have their own Survivor Series match, if they have to have their own Royal Rumble, their own Hell in a Cell, their own Extreme Rules match, their own TLC ladder match and everything, we're all on par with the guys, and we have to have just as much time as the guys do on the show. They're still crybabies. They're always crying over this, crying because they won the title, crying because they didn't win the title, crying because they lost a match, crying because they won a match. Everyone is living a dream. We just had this with Bianca at WrestleMania. People getting mad at me because I said, she needs to stop crying, and I put that in the thumbnail. I remember people saying all weird stuff, saying, you're racist because I'm saying that the girls shouldn't cry. I just don't think it's a good look, especially when you're trying to, like, these girls didn't cry years ago. It seems like since the women's revolution, where the girls should be like tougher, these should, it should be like we're ramping things up. But no, actually, we're dialing things back because the girls used to be tougher years back. Did you see Jacqueline? Did you see Ivory crying? Did you see Molly Holly crying? Even when she got her head shaved, she was just angry. She wasn't crying. You see what I'm trying to say here? Like, there has been a narrative where it's supposed to be that things have dialed up, and they haven't. We're being told that things have gotten better, and they've gotten worse for the women. And it's because they're kind of forgetting. They think that it was just all swimsuits and bra and panty matches, and it really wasn't, because there was a lot of regular matches. There was Victoria, there was Trish, there was Jazz, and they would have rough and tumble matches. So I'm not sure where everyone gets this, that it was just all about them being eye candy and nothing else but that. With Trish Stratus and Lita main eventing Raw, steel cage matches with Victoria. Does anyone just conveniently forget this stuff? So I don't know what everyone's talking about. It's lame. It's bad. It's horrible. This women's wrestling, this current crop, it needs to stop. And it's not to say that there's not a lot of them that are not good athletes. No, a lot of them are really talented. They're just being presented in the way that, that is worse. Way, way worse. Anyway, we'll move on once again here, because we could go on and on about that. It deserves a rant of its own, and you've already gotten quite a few of those already. We've got Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, Kayla Braxton in the back. Reigns says for Heyman to take it away and explain, what's going to happen tonight. So Kofi is injured. It may be a kayfabe injury. I don't know. Woods is on his own. So there's going to be a match tonight. It's going to be Reigns versus that goof, that crowned goof, Xavier Woods, or King Xavier, King Woods, whatever they're calling him this week. If Woods loses, or if Reigns loses, if Woods loses, each one's going to have to bend the knee. And if Reigns doesn't bend the knee, then he's going to quit SmackDown, be stripped of the title. So, yeah, we obviously know that's not going to happen. This was a little bit too elaborate. It's like almost like they couldn't think of anything else from last week. You know, they didn't follow through with the stipulation. So this time, I guess maybe because did some people maybe complain about them not following through with that stipulation? I know that Ben Hameen and Stevie Richards talked about that, over on Russo's brand on Channel Attitude. So, but aside from that, did anyone really care so much that we didn't have Jimmy Uso bending the knee to Xavier? But so now they're going to ensure that it happens. And guess what? It doesn't happen at the end, guys. Anyway, moving on, we've got Boogs introducing Nakamurphy, and once again we've got Pat McAfee marking out for it, which is always entertaining. But then we cut away. It's Corbin and Moss in the back, and we get a really, another Viking joke. The Viking Raiders are not there. There's been a lot of this over the past couple of weeks of like talking about people that are not there and wrestlers not showing up. It just feels like a really, really big mess since the draft. Like half these people are not even on the show, or they made like they are there. Like we're going to talk about Hit Row, like, oh, they're here, they're ready to go. And then they just pull them back, and we're seeing them in little short segments backstage. And why were half these people called up or moved around if they're not even going to be used effectively and they don't have a plan for them? This is got to be like the worst draft that they ever did, in my opinion. I can't think of a time where they just didn't use certain people or didn't have any plans for what they're going to do. And speaking of that, I actually realized looking at this, my readout here, my notes, no Drew McIntyre. Where'd he go? Where's the SmackDown? The SmackDown Warrior. No SmackDown Warrior. Drew McIntyre, you're a guy that that's the guy that should be building with Roman Reigns for a big match. That should be your Survivor Series match right there. But of course not. It's Xavier. He's going to be your big main eventer. I guess they couldn't think of an open challenge for this week. So we've got so we got to have the jokes in the back, and then we get back to the match, and it's Los Lotharios versus Nakamurphy and Boogs, and Los Lotharios get the win. They get the pin on Nakamurphy. They showed Corbin before this match. Remember when he won that championship contenders match? Isn't he supposed to now wrestle Nakamurphy for the title? But that's right, we got Survivor Series, so we can't quite have that match yet because, doesn't Nakamurphy have to face off against the Intercontinental, he has to face off against the U.S. champion, which I believe is still Damian Priest right over on Raw. So, actually no mention of that. I don't think at any point did they even talk about that. I think they just said it's going to be champion versus champion, but why are we having this tag match when these guys have nothing to do? They're not really in the tag division. They cost them a match, so they lose here. I don't get what the plan is. Corbin and Madcap Moss had no interaction here with Nakamurphy of any kind. It wasn't even a real promo or anything. They just talked about the Viking Raiders and moved on. But the way how they layered this, it almost seemed like it was a lead-in, but it wasn't. So, who are they feuding with? I don't know. I guess that's canceled. I guess they're just not doing that feud, which it really shows just how haphazardly this show is laid out. There's no real plan for any future. It's just we'll stop again, start again. This is kind of how it was with Shotzi when she debuted on SmackDown. It's the same thing. Make them win a tag title contenders match, then don't show them for a few weeks, and then suddenly show them again, and there's no payoff to it. And what makes it even worse is, do we even care to have any payoff? But it makes the show feel cheap. It makes it feel like it's just worthless, like there's no point in even watching because nothing really has any consequence. We've got people disappearing from one week to the next. There's massive confusion. We don't even know who's feuding with who. Up next, it's Pierce and Deville. Scrap heap Adam Pierce says, reappeared on SmackDown. Did anybody miss him? I don't think so. He's questioning why Deville removed Aaliyah from the women's SmackDown team. And she says, well, you should try removing people from your team, from the men's team. And when Sami Zayn comes in there gloating and saying that Jeff should be removed from the team, he says, well, maybe we should have someone removed from the team and we'll decide tonight. So it's going to be Jeff versus Sami, and whoever loses is going to get removed from the SmackDown team. And there's a big guy standing next to Pierce, and we don't even say who that is. They don't, the announcers don't know. It's just a mysterious guy that somehow got past security. He's just standing in the back there, no information. And it's weird that, Sami Zayn doesn't even comment on him. He just kind of looks at him, even though he's supposed to be the big mouth. Who's not going to question who this big, massive guy is that's standing next to Adam Pierce? Well, I guess we'll have to find out next week if anyone bothers tuning in. So it's Charlotte coming to the ring, and of course, we gotta go to commercial. We come back, and she's in the ring, and we hear her music. And then we're going to start talking about WrestleMania. So, roll the WrestleMania footage. And, what is going on during this? It's a live show. She's just out there in the middle of the ring, doing nothing. Maybe she's, pandering to the crowd or whatever she's doing. I don't even know. But this is such weird formatting. And, Then they show another little hyped thing for the little graphic that they've been showing of Roman Reigns and Xavier Woods and who's gonna bend the knee tonight. All this is going on, and Charlotte's just in the ring. La, 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 la. Seriously, who's formatting this show? Because it's so bad that we forget about who entered the ring, and we're just gonna come back to them later on. Why are they not doing this first and then cutting to it? I feel like they want to build anticipation, but it just looks plain goofy, and they're not realizing that. I get it, you want to change up the format, but there's certain things that shouldn't be changed. Finish doing one thing. Stop this ADD stuff here. No. Make her enter. Make her cut the promo, finish, and then talk about all the other stupid shit that no one even cares about in this show. Anyway, we'll get to the promo. So, Charlotte starts talking about Cringy Lynch and all her nicknames, and I agree. Honestly, seriously, how many fucking nicknames does Cringy Lynch have? When that should be her nickname, Cringy Lynch. But I digress. Obviously, they're not going to call her that, because that's my nickname. Anyway, we get Toni Storm, Inconsistent Storm, or Inconsistent Tony, we'll call her. Because, man, she comes out. Right, she had that squash match. We all thought that Toni Storm you're going to take the WWE by storm. Ooh. Yeah, pal. Anyway. So Toni Storm comes out, and we get this really, really ineffective promo where she's trying to show rage, but, she's coming off as too cute. She is. Toni Storm is a real babe, I have to admit, but man, oh man. The promo skills here, she's not coming across as aggressive. She's like, you haven't put that title on the line. And she's like, she says, and Becky put the title on the line, and you didn't put it on the line, and she's like, so I'm going to challenge you right now, here, Charlotte. And guess what? Charlotte says no, and she walks away. And I'm like, what the fuck was the point of all that? All that build-up and all this build-up right here. We're going to put more shrimp on the barbie. But guess what? We're not going to have a barbecue. We're not going to have a match here. We're not going to have a title match. Just what a fucking waste of time. Like, what was accomplished there? All that just for Charlotte to say no and walk away. Ooh, I hope they have the match next week. How about, ooh, I don't give a shit. None of this means anything to me. It's like, it doesn't mean anything to anyone. You don't show her for weeks. We have no idea who Tony is. Besides, she has fringes on her jacket and she listens to 80s rock. Anyway, and then she goes on to, to talk about Madonna, who's not even rock and roll. That was weeks ago, if anyone even remembers it. Then she jobs out to Zelina Vega, who hadn't had a win in how long? And Toni Storm was the person that they picked to beat. I mean, what? So now she's coming out, and now it's championship contenders time, and we're not even getting a match. Alright, so yeah, thanks for wasting our time with that, and if it couldn't get any worse, it's time for an Xavier Woods promo. Oh god, how unbearable can you get? So now Woods means all business. He looks like a total goof. He looks like a total joke. But guys, take him seriously. He might beat Roman Reigns tonight. Anyway, we get Jeff Hardy coming out. It's his entrance. But guess what? Time to go backstage, guys. More of this horrible formatting. So we get Aaliyah, and here's Mustafa Ali to come to console her. And Ricochet with the total cock block. Aaliyah's involved in all these cock blocking segments, right? Wasn't last week we had Jeff Hardy, and then the interruption from the interviewer, and then it was Sami Zayn, but no foul, so here it is again. But Jeff Hardy's not even in on this one. Funny that they cut off his segment with an Aaliyah segment, but he had nothing to do with it, as they just said. So Ricochet comes in there and he walks off with Kayla, trying to tell her, she doesn't have to feel bad for what happened to her. And, just really bad, stilted acting here from Ricochet and Mustafa Ali, as you would come to expect from them. And then we get our match with Jeff Hardy and Sami Zayn, finally, after waiting through that whole promo there. We've got a pretty good match here. It's about time. Yeah, it's about time that we got something worth watching here on this show, And I'm all for Jeff Hardy winning. Finally, Jeff Hardy gets a win over Sami Zayn, which was probably going to be the only entertaining part of that team. You know what I mean? I guess he's not going to be on this team unless they decide at the last minute to add him back in. I would suggest that they do, because, Sami Zayn would actually make some of that match enjoyable. It would add an element to him, him trying to boss people around, him calling himself the team captain. I think it would add a lot of great humor to that match, but now he's been taken off the team. But yeah, it was a good match. I did enjoy it. We've got Hit Row backstage. Hey, remember when these guys were supposed to be the next big act, and B-Fab now taken away from the team, released, and now they're backstage, and I don't even know what the fuck they're even talking about now. It's just, hey, we're the hip hop guys, and let's talk hip hop style here, and like, who cares? Then they cut over the Jinder Mahal and Shanky. Hey, remember Jinder Mahal, WWE champion? He looks like $1 million, and Jinder's so jacked. And I will admit, so they do this rap, and it's it's somewhat entertaining. We see Jinder. I'm gonna be quite honest. Jinder made the rap more entertaining than Hit Row did, quite frankly. And because I think the guy is really charismatic, and he's shown that in the past. But whatever happened somewhere along the way, they decided to just give up on Jinder. And now they're throwing him into this, what's probably going to be a feud with Hit Row, I would assume. And then he calls them Cringe Row, and I would agree with that nickname. But, this is what we're doing with Jinder. So we don't show Jinder. But when we, for weeks after being drafted, and here he is, and he's rapping. The rapping Maharaja. Honestly, are we even fucking trying anymore? Are we even attempting to at least make the show decent? So, this is what I'm saying. So many talented people on this show, just made to look like total clowns. That's what I'm saying. You actually do. You have some good people on this roster, and it's just like, Xyla Lee is back, and it's like the same thing as last week. We come back from commercial, Xyla Lee and Kayla Braxton stand there with a big smile on their face. We all can't wait for Xyla Lee. Yeah. Okay. Xyla Lee. Woo! Great. We're supposed to be excited about another women's wrestler coming in here when we showed at the beginning of the show that we don't know what we're doing with the women. There's already too many of them to begin with. But why not get another one in here? But anyway, her guest at this time, Ridge Holland. And Ridge Holland's talking about Sheamus, but Sheamus hasn't been seen for weeks after saying he has banger after banger after banger. Well, I don't know. For having that many bangers, he's not even on the show. Where is he? I don't see him. But we're informed that he's going to be there next week. Cesaro says, you better watch out for Sheamus. He talks about how they were in the bar together. And for some reason, we're supposed to care about any of this. Okay, what are they doing with Cesaro? Now is he going to be involved in a in a feud with Sheamus? Are we going back to that? Perhaps it's going to be Cesaro teaming up with Mansoor, just like they did last week with that absolute dream team. Ridge looks impressive. I mean, he sounds all right on the mic, I guess. He's a Sheamus fanboy. He wants to be Sheamus's tag team partner. He worships Sheamus. I don't know. He's got a Helga Pataki, a Hey Arnold shrine in his closet. I don't know. But this is just honestly all of this is it interesting, and it's so dragged out. He's talking about Sheamus. Sheamus isn't even there. Honestly, what is the excuse for him not being there? Is there wasn't any explanation? You've been drafted. It's kind of expected that you would be there. But all these guys, and it's been a month already, and now we're finally seeing, now we're going to start using Jinder Mahal and Shanky and all these people. What are they even doing? Finally, the main event. Finally, we can stop talking about this show. Thank the Lord. Xavier Woods defeats Roman Reigns by disqualification because this is believable that Xavier Woods almost beats Roman Reigns, beats your world champion, the guy who gets stand toe to toe with Brock Lesnar. He could beat Brock Lesnar. He could beat John Cena. He could beat all these guys and hold the title for well past a year. But he just can't beat the goof in the crown. So we got the Usos pulling him out of the ring, disqualification, so we're not getting any bending of the knee. So Like, there goes that, again, that stipulation out the window. Don't tell me they're going to try it again next week. I hope to God they don't. But anyway, there's a beatdown. They keep beating down on Xavier, and then Roman puts on the crown, and there you go. There's your SmackDown. Like, honestly, like, Roman Reigns is like beating on Xavier, but like midway through the match, we've got Xavier like, going toe to toe with Roman Reigns, like 50-50 for the most part. And I'm like, why would Roman have this much of a problem? And I get like they're probably trying to build up, Big E against Roman, and this is him, wrestling his friend, but shouldn't it be like Roman beating down Xavier? Maybe, and I get they did that after the match, and that's supposed to infuriate Big E, but it looked like he was about to get beat by Xavier. And we even had Michael Cole screaming that he had him beat. Like, honestly, like, out of all the people, like, this is the same thing they did with Finn Balor. Like, they really give too many people, that visual of almost beating Roman Reigns. And I'm sorry to say, but that really does affect him, like, as being this dominant champion that they're trying to, make him out to be. You can't have him, just narrowly escaping Xavier Woods and Finn Balor and all these people. Because it looks a little pathetic, to be quite honest, that he's just narrowly beating these people, narrowly escaping. This just all around, like, I'm looking at this. There was like a lot of things being shown on the show, but just like all of it was just really like, who cares? And it wasn't good, and it was just a waste of time. And, stuff from previous weeks not paid off. Just like a total mess of a show. Like, what was the point of watching this? Like, if you missed tonight, what did you miss? Just honestly, like, what did you miss? Like, how is this any different than last week? How will it be any different from next week? I'll tell you, it wasn't any different, and it won't be any different. This just all around, such a bad show, really. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bells to get all notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. And thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.